For thousands of years, the Jewish people have waited for the Mashiach. His image has given us hope throughout the long and difficult years of exile, especially in times of persecution, suffering, and despair. But who is he? What is he like? And above all, when will he come? These are the questions we will explore together through the sources and traditions of Orthodox Judaism. And we will begin with 3 extraordinary encounters, 3 meetings between some of the greatest Jewish sages in history and the Mashiach himself. Yes, at least 3 great Jewish figures claimed to have met him face to face. Rabbi Akiva, several centuries later, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, and finally, in the year 1750, not so long ago, Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov. Let us begin with Rabbi Akiva, one of the most important rabbis in Jewish history. Rabbi Akiva was one of the principal architects of the oral tradition that would eventually form the 6 orders of the Mishnah, the foundational legal purpose of Rabbinic Judaism. Akiva ben Yosef became such a towering figure in Jewish tradition that later commentators would draw parallels between him and Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses himself. According to the Yerushalmi Talmud, Rabbi Akiva was convinced that Bar Kokhba, the leader of the great Jewish revolt against Rome in the 2nd century, was the Mashiach. Bar Kokhba was both political leader of the revolt and the commander of its forces. Rabbi Akiva interpreted the ancient prophecy in the book of Numbers, "A star shall come forth from Jacob," as a reference to Bar Kokhba. In Hebrew, a star is Kokhab, similar to Kokhba. And when Rabbi Akiva saw him, he declared, "This is the King Mashiach." But not everyone agreed. The same passage records the response of another sage, Rabbi Yochanan ben Tota.
Akiva,
grass will grow from your cheeks, and still the son of David will not have come. History would prove Rabbi Akiva wrong. Bar Kokhba was not the Mashiach. The revolt ended in catastrophe. Bar Kokhba was killed, the Romans crushed the rebellion, Judea was devastated. And then there is another intriguing detail. More than a century later, the Babylonian Talmud preserves a different version of Bar Kokhba's story. Rabbi Akiva is not mentioned at all. In the Babylonian account, Bar Kokhba himself tells the sages, "I am the Mashiach." The sages decide to test his claim. Drawing on prophecy in Isaiah, they understand the Mashiach to possess an extraordinary ability, to judge through smell. They test Bar Kokhba's judging abilities. He fails. To conclude, both traditions preserve a connection between Bar Kokhba and the idea of Mashiach, and the Babylonian Talmud distances Rabbi Akiva from Bar Kokhba's failure. And there's one more thing we know with certainty. Bar Kokhba was not the Mashiach. He was what Jewish tradition would come to call a false Mashiach, a Mashiach Shekel. Our second encounter is very different. Several centuries later, the Talmud tells us that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi met the Mashiach himself and asked him the question Jews have been asking ever since, "When will you come?" Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi was one of the leading Jewish sages in the land of Israel during the 3rd century CE. The Babylonian Talmud describes him as having an extraordinary relationship with Elijah the prophet, the same Elijah who, according to Jewish tradition, will one day announce the coming of the Mashiach. One day, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi meets Elijah and asks him, "When will the Mashiach come?" Elijah gives him a surprising answer. "Go and ask him yourself." Rabbi Yehoshua asks, "Where is he?" Elijah replies, "At the gates of Rome." But there is a problem. There are many people sitting at the gates of Rome. How will Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi know which one of them is the Mashiach? Elijah gives him a sign. The Mashiach is sitting among the poor and the sick, suffering from their wounds. But while the others remove all their bandages at once, treat their wounds, and then bandage themselves again, the Mashiach does something different. He removes one bandage at a time. He treats the wound, he replaces the bandage, and only then does he move to the next one. Why? Because at any moment he may be called, and when the moment comes for him to redeem Israel, he does not want to be delayed, not even by the time it would take to bandage his wounds. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi finds him. He approaches the Mashiach and says, "Peace be upon you, my rabbi and teacher." The Mashiach replies, "Peace be upon you, son of Levi." And then Rabbi Yehoshua asks the question that brought him there, "When will you come?" The Mashiach answers with a single word, "Today." Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi returns to Elijah. The Mashiach had told him he was coming today, but the day passes, and the Mashiach does not come. Rabbi Yehoshua returns to Elijah with a complaint. "He lied to me. He said he would come today, and he did not." But Elijah explains that Rabbi Yehoshua had misunderstood the answer. The Mashiach was not simply saying, "Today." He was invoking a verse from Psalms, "Today, if you will listen to his voice. Today, if you will listen to his voice." Our third encounter takes place some 1500 years later. This time, the man who encounters the Mashiach is neither a Tana nor an Amora from the Talmudic period. He is Rabbi Yisrael ben Eliezer, the Baal Shem Tov, founder of the Hasidic movement, and one of the most influential figures in early modern Judaism. The year is 1746. On Rosh Hashanah of that year, according to an account the Baal Shem Tov himself later recorded in a letter, he experienced what he described as an ascent of the soul, a mystical journey into the heavenly realms, and there he encountered the Mashiach. Like Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi centuries before him, the Baal Shem Tov had one central question: "When will you come?" The Mashiach answered, "When your wellsprings spread outward." The Baal Shem Tov understood these wellsprings as a reference to his teachings, the spiritual ideas and practices that would later become associated with Hasidism. The coming of the Mashiach would occur when those teachings spread beyond a small circle and reached the wider world. Once again, there was no date, no year, no moment that could be marked on a calendar. Instead, there was a task. So what have we learned from these three encounters? The longing for the Mashiach is almost as old as Judaism itself. But the fundamental questions remain. Who is he? A fearless military commander? A poor and wounded man waiting on the outskirts of a great metropolis for the moment he is called? Or perhaps a heavenly figure whose place is near the throne of glory? And above all, when is he coming? To answer these questions, we will have to dig deeper, much deeper. We would have to go back to the roots of the idea itself, from its earliest references in the Torah, for the prophets, the literature of the Second Temple period, and the great Jewish commentators across the centuries, all the way to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and Professor Yeshayahu Leibovich. That is the journey we will take in the chapters ahead.